Hello, this is Mr. Kent of MrKent.com, and I've been interested in flying since I was a kid. Flew little thimble drone planes on a string around me and my brother, and then when I got into my 40s, I got into full-size flying. And then about 2.5 years ago, or maybe longer than that, got back into flying fixed-wing aircraft. You can see the apprentice that I've got behind me that I crashed many times. It's a good little plane. Anyway, and then a couple of years ago, I got into flying drones. My first drone was a Phantom 1, and they didn't even call them Phantom 1s, they just called them Phantoms. But anyway, that was my first drone, and still got I gave it to my son. But about a year ago, not quite a year ago, I purchased my Bebop 2, and I'm real happy with that. And one of the things that I learned about and installed was the Flight Plan app. Now, what a Flight Plan app does is it allows you to program the Bebop to fly somewhere and come back again, hopefully, and take pictures of some place where you can't really go take a look because it's too far away, or it's impossible to get there, or something like that. So a Flight Plan app takes the Bebop and flies it itself, and then brings it back. And you have to program it, and I'll be showing you something on this video about that if you're not familiar with the Flight Plan. But what this video is going to be about is, well, first of all, if you're in an open area, you can fly your Bebop way far away, FPV, and still see what's going on. But if you're in a neighborhood type area where there's a lot of interference from surrounding Wi-Fi's, you lose signal before it gets too far away. About 200 or 300 yards from where I live, I lose signal. So in fact, sometimes less than that. So in an open area, it's great. You don't need a flight plan. But in a residential area where you can lose contact with your Bebop and you want to still fly quite a ways, then you go with a flight plan. And I've got several videos on how I've used flight plans, and you can take a look at those. But one of the things that you want to do before if you get a flight plan app and you're not sure how to use it, you want to go through some testing. And so there's two ways to test, the right way and the wrong way. And this video is about how I learned the right way from the wrong way. And the first part of this video is going to be showing you the wrong way. And you'll see that it's a little short 5-minute video that I took when I was testing my first flight plan. And it's all the wrong way, and you can see how frustrated I got, thinking I may have lost my Bebop. And then the second way is what I've learned in the last year on how to properly test and prove the integrity of your flight plan app. So that's what this video is about, and so I hope it's helpful to you, and we'll get started with it now. Okay, this is Mr. Kent again, and I've got several videos on how to use the AR.Pro 3 flight plan. If you want to take a look at those. And as I said in previous videos, I recently went ahead and bit the bullet and bought the Free Flight Pro flight plan for $20. And so what I'm going to do is just give you some basic basic warnings of how to use a flight plan, things not to do and things to do. And then I'll give you some sample videos to show you how I did it wrong and how I did it right. So let's go to the flight plan first of all. And I've only got about 3 flight plans on this tablet. And this was the flight plan right here that I used that was my first test of the flight plan. And as you can see, my house is where the little red spot is there for the drone. And I took off and I went from right in front of my house. I went west over, and I had everything at 20 meters. By the way, how high is 20 meters? Well, if you go to my website, mrkent.com/bebop, you can download this metric to imperial conversion table. So 20 meters, as you can see down here at the bottom, is about 66 feet. And so that's high enough to get over the trees. And then over on the right side, if you want to know how fast you want to go, and you say, let's say you set it at 10 meters, you're going to go at 22 miles an hour. So this is free if you just download it at mrkent.com/bebop and download this table. So that's available. And then, so now that I know that 20 meters is high enough, so now I can take off from 10 meters and then climb up to 20 meters as I'm headed west, and then go across the top of my yard at 20 meters and over to the northeast of my house, and then come back down, drop down to 10 meters on the way down. And you'll see the video where I took this. So let's take a look at another flight plan, and I want to show you something that you want to be real careful with, because you always want to make sure that you're high enough to avoid running into something. This is a large, this flight plan is available. This flight is available. I'll put a link to this video. But one of the things you want to be careful of when you're working with your flight plan, now let's see, they didn't want me to move, there we go, all right, is I'll expand this and we'll take a look at something here. You'll notice that when I went out over the big vacant lot, then I returned at 28 meters, and then I wanted to drop it down to 14 meters right in front of my house. And so that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that, and that's what I did. Now, and I'm going to move this up a little bit so that I can show you an example of a mistake I made and I wasn't being too careful. If I accidentally touch the screen right there, and you'll notice that it just created a new waypoint. And the waypoint is in the middle of my neighbor's house, 14 meters off the ground. How high is 14 meters off the ground? Well, let's take a look at 14 meters, and that's going to be about 46 feet. So I'll probably crash into my neighbor's roof if I leave that in there. So be careful when you're working with your flight plan, especially when it's all done, not to touch the screen carelessly and create a waypoint that you don't want. If this was in the large area of things, if it was still high enough, it would fly out and land somewhere out in the vacant field or maybe somewhere else. So how do we get rid of that? Well, you just put your finger over it, or whoops, I got to do it again here. I use a stylus. There we go. Just hold it on there and then hit the garbage can and delete it. So the couple things. First of all, make sure your altitude is high enough to cover everything. Make sure you don't touch anything unnecessarily and create a waypoint. And then also, we'll go back here to using the Bebop flight plan. We'll go back here. One of the things that I didn't do, I don't want to save that flight plan. One of the things that I didn't notice was that when I got all done and I flew this, the first time, I've flown it a couple times, but the first time I flew it, it wanted to land in the street, and I'll show you why. Is this the one? Yeah. You see where it says landing here? Okay, so that means it was supposed to land at that last waypoint. Well, it was out in the middle of the street, and if a car had been coming, it would run over it. So the way to get rid of the landing is to hold down on it and then drag it up into the black area, and now it won't land. It'll just hang out there at 14 meters. So that was a lesson I learned the hard well, didn't learn it the hard way, but it scared me because it kept going down to the road. And I think that's all the warnings I want to make for this. I'll put some information following this in the videos that follow, the wrong way and the right way to test the integrity of your flight plan. Alright, this is not the way to test your Bebop flight plan or your AR.Pro 3 flight plan. As you can see, there's a park that I fly at, and then just north of the park there's a wash, and when the desert floods, that fills up with water and gets very deep, but it's got lots of sagebrush and a lot of scorpions and snakes and so forth living down inside of it. So when I take off here and I start heading over to the to the wash, and you'll see in this video how nervous I get because it's the first test, and I think maybe my Bebop has not followed the plan, and I'm thinking it's going to get lost, and now I'm going to go hike after it. You'll see as time goes by how this works. Here you can see the AR.Pro app just stopped working. In other words, it quit. Didn't leave me any indication of that it was running or anything. So this is the first time I've tested this app expecting to lose contact. And now the app has quit, and so I'm starting it up again, as you can see in the video here. And I don't know what's going on. I think I've maybe lost my Bebop because I've never tested this app before, and look where it's headed. It's just headed out into the desert. And as you will see, I finally am relieved to find that it has turned around and come back. So just keep watching, and this is definitely not the place to test your flight plan. And here on my tablet, which shows where I'm located GPS wise, you can see the blue dot. That's me hiking down the path as if I'm going to hike down into the draw and try to find my Bebop laying in a wet brush somewhere. So obviously I was nervous and didn't know that my Bebop was headed back, as you can see.